don't think so. I don't see any blood.
It is. It's right here.
Ah, all right.
Things are going better for the planning board already.
From-
Still alive.
Yes.
It's right here.
There we go.
Yeah, takes care of that. Second order of business. Go to correspondence, however, we have none. Third order of business, our meetings, we have none of those ready yet. And therefore, we are now pretty much going to discuss, I guess we can move up some of this other general business because we've got a few minutes before we start the deep.
Have we said digitally recorded and all that stuff?
I said that.
Okay, good, thank you.
So we need to set a date to meet with John Hume, MRPC, about the master plan. Tom, you wanna talk about that? or you
Yeah,
just
John,
want to
okay, MRPCA gave us a grant for about up to $25,000 in time and effort by MRPC. John Hume is the guy that's gonna set this thing up. The first meeting we have to have with them is to, kind of like a kickoff meeting, like Dick, the guy said, to basically define the scope of the work and how it's gonna go, okay? How they want it, what do we want? So it's basically just to get to know each other, where do we wanna go, what do we feel as though we want for some changes in zoning and economic development. So it's, we can have.
Economic development, this is just about that section of the master plan?
Just about that
Okay.
one section of the master plan, those are, yeah.
Okay.
So they're only doing one chapter, which was the economic development part, which is pretty important in town, so. So basically, what they're gonna, we want to know is, do we wanna change our zoning, do we wanna add more commercial land, do we wanna take some away? Do we wanna encourage this business or that business? And they're gonna study the town and pull all the statistics to find out what they think would be a good fit for the town, where we should have a zone for industrial, where we should go with commercial, so it's a pretty comprehensive plan, and they basically are we're gonna tell them, but not us, well, I guess it was the planning board, and anyone that comes to the meeting will have an opportunity to tell them where they wanna see the town go economically in the future. And then they're gonna study, my understanding is they're gonna study where those things can be placed in town, which are good for the soils, and then they're gonna recommend changes, and they'll do that with us.
West Framingham?
Right behind you, to your left.
And they'll recommend how to do that, so I think he'll have a better explanation of it when we start. So do you wanna, you work full-time during the day, so you can't really do it during the day, so maybe we can have a
Will he
meeting.
come here?
He said he would come here, yes. So, we can't do anything till after August 7th. He's on vacation till August.
And you're taking
I'm on
August
vacation,
off.
and so we can do it anytime we want, we can
So
do.
maybe we should set it up for our September meeting.
He recommended just only this thing, this
Is
is,
it gonna be a big meeting?
it's not gonna be a big meeting, but
How long is it gonna be?
it's gonna be at least an hour or two. I mean,
If we bought a sandwich, could you come to lunch hour? Did you get a lunch hour or lunch half hour?
Paid lunch is gonna stay on the site.
So what are your regular hours of work?
6 to 4.
So why don't we wait and and schedule this in September? But we can't do that till after our September meeting, when everybody knows their schedules. That's a long way off, right? Right now, we should be pretty clear for September. We can have him come in, first order of business, and give him an hour, if you wanna do that. 6:30 to 7:30.
Okay, what's the date of that? Are we gonna start doing this master plan as part of the general meetings? Or we wanna do this
Just
master
during the
plan as
summer.
just as a separate entity of the planning board?
Well, it should be a separate entity, because we have, the consultant we're working with September 6th, is our next meeting. And, we have, this would be, I think, appropriate for a general meeting that we have, and then after that, planning board subcommittee meetings would be held.
Okay, that sounds good. It'll be winter too. so we can do it.
Yeah. And then we
Okay,
can
so we say
we
Jan,
can invite Dick Heaton to this as well.
why would we have him? Basically, he's doing what Dick Heaton would have done.
Well, that's true, but if he's doing a chapter, we've got Dick Heaton doing the master plan. He's just doing it. We have got a long way to go with the master plan. We have to get,
Okay.
we have to get authors for different chapters, and it sounds like he's gonna be the author for one, but Dick is putting it all together.
Okay, so September sixth?
Correct. Put it, it started at 6:30, or 6:45 for him,
What was the date?
9/6.
September sixth. Christine?
Oh, September,
Yeah, September sixth.
September sixth, okay.
Everyone else got vacations and everything, so just do it September sixth. Kickoff meeting, we'll give him 1 hour.
Yep, up to an hour.
And I'll just confirm that with him. Okay. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up too, which is kind of like this sort of thing. The Open Space Committee has finished their open space plan, the update,
Okay,
and it's gonna be ready for review.
good. That'll go in the master plan too.
And why don't we put that on for the September sixth meeting as well?
We like.
So we do it right after that.
They wanna submit it that maybe?
No, they're gonna, I'll make sure they submit a electronic copy to everyone right away. So if you complete and read it, so we can vote on it. Is that
Works for
okay?
me.
Okay, so the open space.
We'll have 6:45 to 7:45 with Mr. Hume of the MRPC.
Yep.
And we'll have the next hour with,
No,
It'll just be a submission of a report.
review
okay.
of the report, if them questions. I think we have to vote on that we read it.
Alright.
If we have any questions, we can answer it. Does that work for everyone?
Is it fundamentally the same as the last one, or is there some?
Yeah, it's basically the same, but there's new chapters in there. I don't,
All right,
I hear about it a lot, but I haven't really gone through it.
just, you get it out to all of us.
Okay, send a copy.
Alright, Christine came back too, huh? Double dipping this one. Never ends in Hubbardston. Alrighty. Okay, so we got another 12 minutes here. We can never begin a hearing early, Mr. Boyle. We're always late, but we can't start early.
No, that's fine.
Well,
I got nothing better.
yeah,
But
well,
the-
that's glad, glad to hear that.
The Cataisto pit, we have to talk about.
Well, have we got enough time? You wanna start and finish later?
Won't take that long.
Let's do it.
Okay, on the agenda is the. And I told her that we might not be meeting in August. So, that's where we are. That's okay with everyone, or?
So we'll invite them for September as well.
Okay.
Well, if they haven't got anything new, there's nothing to discuss there. Alrighty. Do we get any other business that we did not put on the agenda because we didn't know about? Anybody else, anything else you wanna bring up?
Yeah, on our raise.
No raise, yeah. Stand up.
Higher chair?
Yeah, there you go.
And that's about it. Well, I guess we'll just take a short intermission here until we can begin our public hearing.
Why can't you stop early?
Because
I'm sorry?
Posted time.
yeah, the official posted notice legally says 7, and gotta let people have the chance to be here or not, but
Why not?
they can come. But they gotta be here for it all if they're coming. I mean, we can't start without
Correct.
them.
I'd like to compliment Christine for sometimes taking a hearing that I attend and think I know what's going on, and when I read her article, I say, oh, I better go back and look at that. She's pretty good.
Hey, you wanna be a clerk?
Very, very, very
Take notes?
complex subjects, and she does a good job.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian, by the way, apparently we overcharged you for the cost of the, advertisement in the Gardner News.
Okay.
So Christine says she didn't want to raise, so we're gonna give you $1.60 back.
All right.
We owe you $1.60.
Yeah, we were a little uncertain how much it was when we were doing that, so.
Yeah. Patty just told me about that. No big deal.
Yeah.
Well, don't leave town. Oh, we won't leave town, I guess. All right.
Apply that to my taxes.
Yep, you can write it right off. Make it a donation, keep our taxes in town down. If everybody gave $1.60, we'd have a senior center.
Yeah.
Jeez. Guys are brutal.
Nothing escapes us. Did you have those sign-in sheets? Would you put those sign-in sheets down?
Oh, that's up there.
All right. Did you folks sign a sign-in sheet for us for the hearing before we begin? Any questions that might have come up in your course of rethinking this experience?
1 week? No.
Good.
You doing your homework, you doing your reading and whatnot?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
A lot of reading.
Kids love it, you know, it puts them right to sleep.
Yeah, right.
Puts me to sleep.
You're not reading it out loud, are you?
No.
Bedtime stories. Oh, fiction. Okay, we don't need that. Oh, my. Mr. Murray, sign-in sheet up there for you, if you wouldn't mind.
Pardon me?
I said there's a sign-in sheet up there, if you wouldn't mind.
Sure. Maybe I'll donate one to the cause.
Now, is that air conditioning just loud when you're sitting back there? Seems really quiet right here.
I think it's right underneath the blower right there.
Yeah. How bad is the, how- it is quieter, isn't it?
I believe they had it set on max, or it triggered into max. There's a thermostat, and at the end of the meeting, I walked into the other room, it was nice and cold in there.
Didn't show up in the- oh,
So
we did.
there's some ventilation issues, and that's why I opened the door. If that gets cold, we'll get cold. And
That's
then
why
the
we didn't do-
thermostat will be satisfied. I listened to the, July 10th video. I can't hear anything
Oh, really?
on the YouTube, and the second half didn't come up. It's like the two sections, I couldn't get the second half to work. I asked her about it, and she's gonna check into it.
Yeah, that was so loud the other night.
Sheila said hello.
Huh? Good. Was that you I saw with a gang of other men on street bike doing a big ride?
No, it's only, well, it depends on how many people were.
Like 5.
Yeah, it was probably, on Thursday night?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
we ride every Thursday night.
How do you think he looks in spandex?
I was gonna try and hit him, but he was on the other side of the road. We're not being recorded yet, are we?
Oh, yeah.
Statute of limitations.
He had these flashy red lights, I was just focused.
Everywhere you go, you see Ken on his bike. You never know. He only does 6,000 miles a year.
Yeah.
Give this guy credit for it. I don't know how you stay awake during these meetings.
You said it does it Thursday night, right?
I'm sorry?
You said do it Thursday night, not Wednesday, so you're all rested.
Actually, I ride 6 times a week,
Do you?
minimum. Some days I ride, I have to take 1 day off. The body needs it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
I'm
know.
taking every day off.
I got 6 miles this morning.
You bike 6 miles?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Mountain bike.
I said I haven't ridden my mountain bike in a few years, but I had more fun, more laps, and I felt safer. There's no other cars around.
Yeah, right.
I mean, you're never gonna come out of the wood without blood, mosquito bites,
Oh, that-
scratches,
yeah,
whatever.
that
you know.
hard.
I broke my sternum once. I've had my,
Ouch.
Well, it
broken
sounds
a
like
few
fun.
things. It is, you know,
It is fun.
And the end of the ride, we sit down and we drink beers and
Oh.
wine and have eats and.
Apply bandages.
Well, yeah, we have those too.
Medics shows up.
Where do you ride, Bill?
I ride between Westminster Road and Old Westminster Road.
Oh, yeah.
I go down my street, or sometimes go down the railroad tracks.
Yeah.
And then there's a crossover trail. It's
Mm.
perfect 40-minute ride. I get out there before 6 and I'm back by 6:30.
Excellent. Do you ever go over to Leominster State Park? Oh,
Yeah,
fun.
the rocks. Oh,
Yeah, that must have been beautiful this year with the mountain laurel.
Yeah.
Yeah. it's
Every
really-
year, it's just, it is absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
but the trails over there are made up of pebbles, small boulders, and it's sometimes pretty brutal with a mountain bike.
Especially on a hot, steamy night, everything is slick.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't get any traction anywhere.
Well, that's me in the morning. I crossed a log this morning. I was like, oh well.
7 o'clock.
There's a stream you have to cross, and you have 2 choices. You can go through the stream
Right?
at a crossing,
Yep.
or people have laid down logs so you
Logs.
can actually walk. So this morning, the problem with the stream is there is a log that goes along the path of travel, and then about 2.5, 3 feet over from the log is this big rock. You can't see them. So you have to pick your path and hope you don't hit them. Or you get a little bit of a bath.
Well, all right, now it's 7 PM, so I will entertain a motion to recess the planning board in order to open a public hearing.
I'll second that.
How about making it?
Oh, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
Who
Planning board
seconded-
is in recess.
Who seconded it? Tom?
I
Tom-
did.
Tom Robbins. And going to read the notice. Pursuant to the provisions of Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 9, and Article 9 of the Town of Hubbardston zoning bylaws, the Hubbardston Planning Board will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, July 12th, 2017 at 7 PM in the town office, Slade Building, 7 Main Street, Hubbardston, to hear public comments on an application for a site plan approval by Brian Bortle of 69 Barry Road, Hubbardston, Mass. To operate a professional office at 36 Main Street, Hubbardston, Assessors Map 5C, Parcel 82. Copy of the application and plan may be viewed at the town clerk's office during regular business hours. This notice was properly posted in the Gardner News as well as the town offices. And we're now in session. So, Mr. Bortle, if you'd like to come on up, we'll be happy to entertain this. And,
That's all right.
and while we conduct our hearings, pretty simple. Does everybody have an application by any chance?
Nope.
No? Okay, great. I knew we didn't
I'll
make
be glad to run
something.
copies.
Mind?
Not at all.
Brian's asking for site plan approval for 36 Main Street, which is formerly the Asnacommon Federal Credit Union, and a bakery, and a couple of other things in between. And now you would like to do this as a professional office. So why don't you give us a little presentation and tell us what you'd like to do, and we'll go from there.
Well, I just would like to move my office from my house down to there and then entertain clients for my business, which is truck maintenance and fleet maintenance. There's no hands-on, no truck work done on the property. It's just strictly office work and customer conference. If somebody wanted to come in and review some plans to maintain their fleet or their property, being handyman services or landscaping or something like that, then they could come in, tell me what they needed to be done, and meet me in a nice neutral place and check out what they want to do, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
And then bookkeeping and stuff like that, obviously.
Great. And we do have a notice of denial, not denial, but a notice from Larry Brandt, building inspector, indicating, Mr. Bortle, that it is a use permitted by right in the commercial district, but it does need a site plan to accompany the building. So, we have a couple of waiver requests. And they are for sections of the zoning bylaw, Article 9, requesting a waiver on 9.2A, 9.2B, 9.2F, and 9.3. Let me look at those and read them to everybody so we know what we're doing.
When you said, does everybody have an application, you gave me one sheet.
I know, I only gave you the site plan. You should have, if you want to make more copies, you can, sure.
Oh, is there only 2 more pages?
Just a more.
Okay,
Sorry.
I can do it now that I'm trained.
All right, so Article 9 is our site plan approval bylaw. And the request for the waiver at 9.2A reads, an applicant for a site plan approval shall submit the following. Section A, 2 original Mylar drawings of the site plan and 6 contact prints. The prints are to be dark line on white background, where the original drawings will be returned after approval or disapproval. 9.2B is a request for waiver on 3 copies of the planning board site plan review application form. The applicant shall state in his application the time within which the work required on the ground will be completed. And you don't have any work to be completed, there's nothing to be done. 9.2F, a community environmental assessment report as required under Article 8, which is the environmental and community impact bylaw, which is very, well, it's requested to be waived. It may or may not apply here. Be up to us, I guess. And then 9.3, the site plan form. The site plan shall be prepared by a registered engineer or surveyor and shall be clearly and legibly drawn on a scale of not less than 1 inch equals 40 feet on a material which is suitable for reproduction. Multiple sheets are used. An index sheet showing the entire site plan shall be provided. Now, this particular property has had at least one other site plan approved. And we have in the past waived those 4 conditions that Mr. Bortle is asking for, on the basis that it's such a small property, it didn't make a lot of sense to put the applicant through the expenses of engineered site plans and Mylars and everything else that he's asked for. So, if you wanna take a look at this site plan in front of you, you'll see that it certainly is adequate to make these decisions on.
How many square feet is the building?
432 square feet.
432, right? Now, when it was first brought to us, they didn't have the handicapped access, so that was put in. And then the parking was provided, so. And it certainly has more parking than is required under that size of a building.
Do you need a motion to accept those exceptions?
I would entertain a motion to either waive or deny the request for waiver on the 4 sections that he has requested a waiver for.
So moved. So I make a motion, we accept his waiver, his request for a waiver.
On 9.2A, 9.2B, 9.2F, and 9.3.
Hey.
Anybody have a
second that.
Second, all right. Anybody discuss it? All in favor? Opposed? So voted. So we get the waivers out of the way.
What was the last one? 9.3.
All righty. Anybody else have any other questions for Mr. Bortle about what we see or what he might want to do?
Building looks great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a new roof and everything done, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. I did my best in that bakery, but I just couldn't buy enough, I guess, to keep her going. I like that place too. That was good. But I don't think you'll see me. I have nothing you can do for me in that one. All right. And would anybody like to make a motion to approve the request for the site plan from Mr. Bortle, 36 Main Street?
I'll make such a motion.
I'll second.
All in favor? Opposed? So vote. Now, what we will do is write up a quick decision, submit it to the town clerk for dating, and it'll be a 20-day appeal period that'll begin. If nobody appeals the decision we made, you'll get your okay on the site plan and be all set to go.
Okay.
All right? And we've acknowledged that we owe you money.
Okay.
We'll take care of you.
We all set?
All right?
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
What time's the next one? Maybe we can do the Today's Toast.
Yep.
I think that's the quickest decision we're gonna make tonight.
You think so?
No, I think a quicker one, the motion to adjourn will be quicker. Huh, yeah?
Hopefully not. Can I sneak in on this?
You're too late. We already discussed everything.
Yeah.
Well,
We did. However, we have 20 minutes before our next hearing, so
Alright.
give us a second, we'll get right to you, okay?
Come on up.
all right.
Wait a minute, don't start yet.
No, they can come by, they can sit down.
It certainly can, but
Yeah.
just give me a minute here.
Is this my check?
Yeah.
You're all set.
Money.
Take it to the bank.
I hope so. Hope the money's in the bank.
Yeah. All righty.
Goes back to her as well.
Yep, that goes back to, I need a motion to reconvene the planning board in order to discuss the, Cataisto gravel pit.
I'll make such a motion to reconvene the planning board regular meeting.
Second,
Second.
all in favor? Great, we're back in session.
Okay,
Thanks for coming in.
yeah, well, I'm kinda sneaking in.
That's okay, no, we had you on the
Well,
agenda.
We know you're on vacation for a couple of months sabbatical, so,
It's paid vacation.
well, I know, but it's not paid for us. We have to get things done. It was brought up that we have a $10,000 bond.
Uh-huh.
In order to get the bond back, we have a contractor that's willing to bring a TD 25 in and those for 40 hours. And that should put all our slopes in. We have a ton of seeds in the tractor to do the seeding ourselves. We've done it before. So we would like to have you release our bond and to pay this company for their bulldozer work.
Mhm.
And it comes out to like $10,000.
That figures, huh?
You know, it ain't cheap. I
No.
mean, you know, when you pay $225 an hour,
Really?
yeah, they do the job, but it's the right size machine to bring in the job.
Mhm.
So we just need to know if you will pay this bill with our money.
No,
It's
that's,
pretty simple. I mean, it's, you know where the money's gonna go. We're gonna put it in, and then,
So will the town, you're
Yeah.
asking the town to just pay the bill directly, or we'll
Right.
release the funds to you?
release the funds to us so we can pay the bill.
Yeah.
Cause I don't wanna jerk them off for 2 months or 3 months and take my money out of my pocket, you know? My wife wouldn't like that.
No.
So, and also, we have a deal cooking with Barango too for a solar farm. So that'll follow this. So I don't know what kind of work they're gonna do down there, but that's, I guess you people are more informed than I am, because you've done a couple of jobs already in town.
That'd be a big one.
so yeah, you'll be back to see us.
So I don't know if I'll be back to see you, but they will be back. Cause
Okay.
they want 25 acres. And
Whoa.
it's probably the best bet for the family right now.
Wow, how many acres do you have total?
40.
Oh, good.
I would think that would be a perfect site.
Yeah.
Well, it would be.
No one can see
Nobody
it.
can see it. And
Sloping
it's-
to
and
the
it's-
south,
Yeah,
a little bit,
yeah, southerly exposure.
no trees.
And nobody can really see it, except for Aldi, and he's up there in age. He probably can't see that good anyway.
I'll buy him some sunglasses.
That's not fair.
He still mows the lawn though, you know, so.
All right, so,
We don't have we don't
But
have
the
the
last time they were in, you were talking about the plan.
Well, we
Or
already
is this
know,
ju- or is
we
this
already
just-
know the plan. I mean, it's
Well, I know, but
just.
we have to know.
But it's, once it's done, if you wanna walk up there, but then the solar company's gonna take over, and I don't know what they do for slopes or whatnot, maybe they want different slopes, I don't know, but
Oh,
we're
yeah.
gonna put everything probably 4 to 5 to 1 on this south side.
But
It's
when-
just the back side that has 3 to 1.
That was,
Remember when
yeah,
you were here
we were-
last?
yeah, we're gonna do the mark. I didn't bring it with me today. 'Cause I wasn't sure if we were on tonight or not.
Oh, okay, well, then you're ready. Then.
Yeah.
When you're ready,
Okay,
revisit.
okay.
Well, I think they wanna get going on it, Tom. I
Yeah,
mean,
I'll
So we
because
want
yeah,
kind of an
that-
answer on
that-
this.
that's-
Well,
that soil's
I
up there
have
that-
things to do too, so.
Well, it's not even that. I mean, I think it's the issue is the site can't be worked when it's wet.
Right.
It
Right,
has
right,
to be
right,
really dry.
right.
Slick is like.
Well, the dryer, like this past month was ideal. You know.
Mm.
A few rainstorms ain't gonna hurt nothing, but
Yeah.
no steady rains.
How do we release work without a plan? Can you-
I don't know. Bill was gonna ask to say something.
Well, the operator's got the plan. He knows what he's gonna do, you know. He's 75 years old, the operator of that machine, so he knows how to do slopes. That's his business.
Right up there.
Well, we're not talking about the plan or the quality of the plan, we're talking about communicating the plan. Okay, like we spoke last.
okay, so, yeah, what we need is what do we call the reclamation plan. And it has to be sent to us in a form so that we can understand it, and that when it's finished, it looks like what it's supposed to be. It would include a section that would address wetlands, it would include.
We're not into the wetlands.
That's all it has to address, you know, it just that needs to be included in the reports, of course. The bylaw is pretty specific on how it would work, okay? And, it would just be specified as a reclamation plan, and wouldn't be that detailed. Bill, any comments?
So I'm wondering why you wouldn't ask Borrego what they want, because their end result will be a reclamation plan, and it will be an engineered plan. And it will take it all out of your ball court and leave it, you say, this is what we got, show us what the final grade will be, the board would approve it under the solar, and simultaneously do your
Reclamation.
thing,
Well,
and
that was one of the questions I had. Do we have to finish this permit before we go
To the next one.
to the next? That's what we wanna know.
You
That's
can
kind of a
combine
gray
it if
area.
you'd like.
What's that?
You can combine it if you like.
Okay.
If
That's what we-
Borrego
yeah,
is
that's what we
interested
need to
in.
know.
Oh, yeah, well, they're interested in the land, and I talked to these people, and they're interested in talking to Borrego, and they thought they were gonna have somebody at the meeting here tonight from that company.
Well, I guess what we're saying to you, however, is that if you're interested in having Borrego put a solar farm there, which of course they will pay you a rental fee for
Right.
them, and that's wonderful. And the town will get a benefit out of it also. However, you may be very surprised that they will do all of this grading and reclamation for you, included in their solar farm application.
Well, I don't know if they'll push all the overburden back into the hole.
They will have to, or they won't get their permit.
They can't put the field up.
Right. But I would say that's why we wanted to find out if we have to completely finish what we have going before that moves on, or it can be combined.
It seems to me that
Yep.
it would be unwise to
Oh, combine it if
do
possible.
something and then have to do something
Right,
different to
exactly.
accommodate the solar.
Exactly.
Doesn't make any sense, so.
Okay.
See,
We
do
were
it
just,
two
we
for
were
one
just
kit.
wanting to feel you out on that.
Well, we work on commission here, and that would just save you, we just saved you $10,000, and,
Well,
you know,
I'm sure we're still gonna spend it here. We've been paying taxes for 100 years in this town, and we haven't missed the tax payment yet. In fact, the tax payment is more than that they bought the place for.
wow. Don't you get a freebie after 101 years? Is
Well,
that the new rule? I don't know. I'm
No,
kidding, I'm
no,
kidding.
not in this town. In fact, I'm wondering how we get back money from the previous tax bills that we paid.
Yeah. Well, that would
Too
be
much.
our best recommendation to you.
Okay.
I mean, that would solve,
Well,
Two
is this something that
problems.
we can get done this summer,
You gotta
not
talk to
next
Borrego.
year?
You gotta talk to Borrego.
Right.
You know, they don't have to, they don't have to do the electrical connections and all that stuff, they gotta do the dirt.
Right.
So it might be a limited scope for them. I'm guessing.
Have you talked to them yet, or, I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
No, well, I've talked to the land acquisition, and he turned me on and Borrego's interested, the 25 acres. They don't know that we own another 12 acres beside it, so we could jump it up to 35 acres. But
well, I think you ought to look at it as soon as possible before the regulations change next year. There are all kinds of interesting ins and outs of how they do that. But in your best interest, you might have the opportunity to recapture your money and not have to spend it.
that's always a plus.
yeah, my concern is Borrego's gonna want you to change what you're doing. You'll do something, and then they're gonna come in with a D8 themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
See, we don't know what they want.
Right.
That's why I
I
suggested that
mean,
these
they
people
want big,
talk to
flat,
them.
and level, and they're willing to, we just did one off of Gardner Road, it wasn't big, flat, and level, but they made it big, flat.
At their expense.
Yeah.
Now,
Something
you know,
never-
this is not to say this is not a good contract, that we don't wanna get involved in that, we're just
Yeah.
we're giving you the advice
Well,
of many years of working with the solar people, that
Okay.
they've taken very good care of their clients in the past.
Why do it twice?
yeah, well, that's what we're here for, to find out.
I think
This-
that would be
this
probably
is-
the easiest
This
way.
is a route we could take, you
Well,
know.
see, last time
if
we
you're gonna
talked,
force us to close the
that wasn't
pit,
in on the
we
table
would do
yet.
this.
And we had contacted them right after the meeting, actually.
Yeah, I
within a
told,
couple
I
of
told,
days.
I gave you
Yep.
the name of the guy to
Yeah.
talk to, yeah.
So things actually are moving forward.
Sure, and as you folks know, and as everybody does, reclamation is a very big issue with us in the
Yeah.
town. And objectively, if it's if it's accomplished with dual purpose that benefits you, it benefits the community, we're all in favor of that. And, you know, the option you have there is fine with us. You know, that's a good option.
Yeah.
But, you know, there may be a better one you might wanna explore, that's all I'm saying.
We would need to have a lot of these engineered drawings and stuff, which if you have Borrego do it, as like Bill was saying, they'll do all that for you,
Right,
cause that can be expensive too. But they have to do it anyways.
right.
And they'll
Right.
delineate
That's part of their
wetlands and
bargain,
take all
Yeah,
that.
and they do a good, you know, from what we've seen, right, Bill, they've done a good job so far, on most of it.
And all of the solar farms, not just Borrego, have to do it correctly.
Right.
You know, they meet our specs as well as you would,
Yeah.
but, you know, it's kind of a win-win for you guys.
Yeah. Well, we're just trying to keep the land in the family.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're all scattered about and it's been in for 100 years, well, might as well keep it for another 20, 25 years, so.
Well, that's fine, that works for us.
What are you
Like I
shooting
said,
for, like a?
wanted to just feel you guys out on that, because I say, we weren't sure if you were gonna just say, no, this has gotta be done before.
No,
Oh, no.
No.
Absolutely
No.
not, yeah.
Okay, well, that's like I say, that
Right.
just
Yep.
answer that question.
Is
No,
that,
we'll work with you.
is that a reasonable answer, and is that
Yeah.
your only question?
Yeah.
And in the meantime, we'll look at that $10,000 and
Yeah.
we'll get moving on that as well.
Right. Because we need that to close the pit up or whatever, to settle the estate, really. That's part of the estate
Okay,
process. And we can't settle the estate until all the Ts are crossed and the Is are dotted. You know how that goes with the lawyers, so.
Mhm.
They have the $10,000 deposit with the town, but that's, the select board has to release that, don't they?
Well,
I don't think so.
The original permit was through the select board, so
Hmm.
is it up to them to release it, or because
Well,
the permit was
I looked
originally
at
through
it-
them, or?
I looked at it today, and the bylaw says any permit or any permit in existence or that any gravel operation that had been permitted under the previous bylaw now comes under the newest bylaw. So my reading of it is that we have jurisdiction over quite a bit. And I think, I don't know, Bill, how you read it, but, you know, that's how we wrote it.
Well, you'll
So-
probably get it back in taxes anyway, so.
Well,
Well, the solar.
In the-
But it's
solar
yours.
farms
In the
make a
long
very
run.
A good contribution to the town.
Yeah,
It's
and you've already
significant.
been paid the interest on it, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's good.
Yep.
So we'll work on that for you,
all right,
All right,
and,
very good.
But are we making a promise we really can't keep?
I
can you
just said
give
we
this-
work on it, that's all.
Okay, yeah.
I know that's,
What's the promise you can't
Well,
keep?
I don't know that you can give back the money before the reclamation is, or before. the-
well,
No, you
it's a whole,
can't, that's a whole separate story.
a
yeah.
whole separate
Okay,
story,
and
yeah.
that's the path you have to work on.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're
I
trying
mean,
to,
it will be reclaimed, I mean,
mhm.
we're gonna just put down grass anyway, so.
Do you think that if you grant the solar permit, that you can give back the money then, because the responsibility goes to Borrego,
Mm.
and they have earthwork and everything else, so at that point, you can claim the gravel pit closed and Borrego the responsible party for
Reclaim it.
reclamation and restoration.
Right, you might get your money quicker, yeah.
Cause you force them to seed everything too, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And weren't we gonna set up a site visit?
yeah.
Yeah, we
We
will.
did that.
We did that, year
Well,
ago.
we did, it was over a year ago.
I
now.
mean, actually, there's only a couple of slopes that are not 3-to-1. I could go up there with a dozer and do a 3-to-1 slopes in an hour. But it's just pushing the overburden back in to get some seed on.
Yeah.
Cause there doesn't grow grass in that clay, but
Trees growing it.
trees growing it, but that's about it.
Okay,
That would be a good site, though, I
Well,
would think. It's
When you
facing
guys
south,
leave
yeah.
here, do you have a workable plan? I mean,
Yeah.
Well,
like,
we already know the plan. I mean, we know what
we've
has
got,
to be
we've
done.
got the plans.
We've
See,
been
my
digging
sis-
up there
my
for 50
sister's-
years.
My sister's
well,
got them.
what I'm trying to find out is if you're satisfied with the plan. Have we
Well,
satisfied?
we've got the original plan for the whole excavation.
no,
It was
plan
through
for,
all-
the plan for the next phase of what you wanna do from us, with us.
Now, we've got some engineering plans that you can.
Okay, that's good.
We yellowed in where it's gonna be 3-to-1 slopes. Which
Well,
it's pretty
Like I
cut
said,
and
we're
dry.
not worried about that.
Plus
We're
in a-
talking about the plan you are going to contact Solar Farm X, Y,
Oh,
and
yeah,
Z.
no, they,
And work with them and then come
Right.
back with us, and
Yeah.
we'll work with you on the deposit. That's the
We
plan
might,
Tom
we
was talking
might
about.
not need any yellow line
Yeah,
drawings.
right.
If it goes to a Borrego
Right,
drawing or
right.
a XYZ drawing or ABC.
all right.
I'd say get this free phase on 68 there, so this would be a perfect site for it.
Well, originally, a couple of years back, we checked into it and they said there was no three-phase on the street, but I don't think they were looking at the right street. I mean, I
No, it's
lived
definitely
here
there.
for my whole life and I know what's down the street. Just like the speed limit change signs get moved. Hey, I've never sped in this town, but I've paid a lot of fines in this town. Thank you.
All right, gentlemen, have
Thank you.
fun,
Good night.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Good timing.
Yeah.
Well, that was good. That was, Jane must have sent the bid. That's real good news.
Who must have sent it in?
His sister, 'cause
Oh,
they
Jane,
talked,
yeah.
Yeah, Jane, they talked about it.
That was what I sent you earlier, it's not anything new.
Any conversation with Tanya? Did she respond?
No response.
No response, okay. We'll check on it tomorrow.
No big deal. As I said, I'm pretty sure the town's good for it.
We're owing everybody tonight, we owe.
Don't ask them.
We owe $1. Yeah.
So with all these solar farms, we'll be able to pay for a new senior center.
That's a significant, it's very significant money because it's certain money.
Yeah.
And you can borrow against it, more
What's that
effectively than you can borrow against regular tax revenue. It's a contract for a 20-year payment.
I've already submitted those, that's
Yeah.
just,
We're just gonna tell people, it's an invoice that you gave them.
yeah.
Okay. Gotta put it on the record. I'll put that on here.
Oh my. Things are going much too easy tonight here. What's going on? Hi.
On another note, hi, I don't know if you're aware that the air conditioner is dripping water into this room.
Oh, that would have been
That's
a.
why we moved.
Oh, we're aware of that air conditioner, believe me.
Staining the roof.
Yeah,
You're also standing in the furniture?
not yet, 'cause I moved, I blocked the drop, but.
Want to come back?
No, thank you.
Yeah, we know what it does to hearing, I'll tell you that much. Oof. Thought they fixed the roof.
It's not the roof, it's the air conditioner.
No, it's a
The air
condensation.
conditioner.
Condensation.
Condenser.
Oh, it's the condenser, okay.
That's supposed to be outside.
The condenser's outside, but if there's, if it's not insulated around the,
Condensing.
it's
Yeah.
condensing, yeah. Okay. Get the words right.
If you're gonna be talking to Tom, you
You
better
can
get
get
the
the
words
words
right.
No, I mean, it's not the condensor. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's like talking to Bill. You gotta get into the engineering
Oh, come on,
frame of mind.
easy.
Yeah.
Notice how quieter it is at the door.
Quieter? Yeah,
Yeah.
with that open. Oh my goodness, yeah.
There we go.
Ta-da! Look at
Those are
that.
just
Just on cue.
Corrected. Remember at the last meeting I said,
Oh,
oh,
yeah,
there's some
yeah.
typos?
Okay.
That's just for the record.
Okay.
Hello.
Good evening.
Hello. Hello.
Battle every day, man. Yeah, that's what I call it.
We've had an issue that the air conditioning is leaking above your head, so beware of where you sit.
We just got caught in a rainstorm.
Oh, is it still raining?
Yeah. Oh, my finally stopped.
If you wanna sit there, I have a raincoat over there you can wear.
I got one in my car, we might have everybody covered.
Well, it's just leaking right above the seats.
Do you wanna do we have to make,
Yeah.
I'm just writing reconvene, I'm just
No,
writing a
no, we
motion.
have to-
You
We
guys
have to
want
have
me
a
to grab
motion to
some chairs
recess.
from the other room?
And
Motion
then-
to recess.
And then start the public hearing.
Let me grab chairs from the other room.
Yeah, that'd be good. Yep.
Do you say it's,
Thank you.
do you write it's in recess into a public meeting?
She knows her
Or
way.
to a-
In order to go
Okay.
to public hearing.
Well, that's when I was sitting in a drop
Hours continue.
Oh, God. Okay.
Living dangerously.
Just so you guys know, I'm walking Borrego, Williamsville with, for the Conservation Commission next Wednesday morning at 10. It's supposed to be tomorrow, but thunderstorms and apparently they melt.
More storms for tomorrow?
Might be on TV, by the way.
Sorry.
Are they gonna resubmit the plan? Is that a new plan to us?
Well, I've questioned their wetlands line. I don't think they delineated all the wetlands, and I don't agree with their delineation in the very center of the site that it's an isolated wetland. So, and conservation's hired me directly.
Okay. Does anybody wanna go to that site walk? We can, if we do, we can post it and we can join them, I'm sure.
That's
Right.
deep in there with the ticks and the mosquitoes.
Yeah, we already did, Tom and I already went.
Well, that's
on
fine.
one. They're not discussing the road again, or the access point again, are they? That really doesn't matter.
No, they-
Probably because it'll change their, well, we're gonna discuss wetlands and wetlands only.
Yeah.
Yeah,
When they make a resubmittal, well,
yeah. So conservation's meeting tonight, right now, but they've continued the public hearing process as they continue yours.
Alright, cool. Very good. Alright, looks like we're ready, willing, and ready to go. Are we? Are you guys ready to start off? As well as you'll ever be, right?
Mr. Chairman.
Alright, I'll entertain a motion to recess the planning board meeting in order to go into the public hearing continuance on the gravel permit.
Make such a motion for this hearing?
Second? Second. All in favor? We stand in recess, and we will now continue the DJ Palm gravel permit hearing. Mr. Beaudry, would you have anything else you'd like to speak with us tonight? So you're up.
Yeah, well, Mr. Chairman, we, at last Wednesday's, hearing, you know, we, as you know, we provided some additional, a revised set of plans, a response to, what we saw as being the final, comments of your consultants, and, asked that a few things be clarified, which I understand, has occurred, and, we, you know, last Wednesday, we indicated our hope and desire that the board would close the hearing and, you know, consider the information and the draft permit that was issued by your consultant, which we thought was fair and reasonable, and we would hope that the board would deliberate on that and accept the permit to approve as with conditions as drafted, and our, you know, the applicant can, you know, move forward with finding an operator for the pit and move these conditions forward to ideally get, you know, this property that's been sitting, you know, idle, you know, reclaimed and put back into good productive use. So.
Okay.
And I haven't heard anything from the applicant since last Wednesday indicating otherwise, so.
Okay.
And also last Wednesday, I believe we had, after our team huddled, we decided to just move forward with the extraction operation permit, earth removal operation, and instead of trying to specify, you know, certain materials that might be brought in or blending or whatever, where we just think it's simpler at this point to not go there.
Okay.
So, anyway, that's where we stand right now. Obviously the board, wanted to continue to review the information that was provided, you know, last Wednesday in detail, from, us as well as your consultants, and, hopefully you've had an opportunity to do that, and, we're prepared to answer any other additional questions that there might be, and, you know, talk as, you know, if you wish before closing about, the, you know, particular, you know, conditions or whatnot. So we're here and available and willing.
Okay. Bill, did you have any other comments you'd like to?
Just a new, it's not a new topic, but a new item, and I wanna make sure it's presented at the public hearing, is over the last couple of days, I've been approached, by a couple of residents of the town, as well as in communication individually with some members of the board. And one of the topics that's come up is pedestrian travel up and down, Pitcherville Road. And, the reason I wanna bring it forward is so that it's in the public record that the board is talking about it, and that it is potentially a consideration of the grant of the permit, and it may potentially be a condition of the grant of permit, which the applicant hasn't seen or heard because it's a new topic. So I don't know if the applicant wants to address it or if the board wants to address it, but I think that it should be part of the record of the public hearing to say that the board did discuss pedestrian traffic. And I know Mrs. Foley has talked about it before, and I forget which member of the board asked the traffic engineer, but I think that's a critical piece in the safety of Pitcherville Road. And since people have brought it to me, I'm bringing it to the board to make sure. I don't want a condition to come out of the blue if the board is so inclined to issue a condition about pedestrian traffic. I wanna make sure it's in the public realm before the close of the public hearing. Other than that, no.
Okay.
Yes, no.
Okay. Does anybody have a comment to make on that? Would you folks like to respond?
I'll respond. Laura Foley, 12 Pitcherville Road. I'm very happy that this is part of the public record now, because as I have been saying throughout, I'm really concerned with my oldest son, who now walks in the dark in wintertime from our house to 68 to catch his bus to Monty Tech. And I anticipate that my youngest son will be making that same walk in 4 years.
Mr. Chairman, this topic was discussed in the public realm at the May 3rd hearing when Ron Mueller was here, the traffic consultant, to, we talked about, in fact, I recall that the board was asking your son questions.
Yeah.
Specifically about, which son walks and which one doesn't, and which buses, where the buses go, and all this stuff, and it's been out there and in the public realm, and it would be, there's obviously no sidewalks on Pitcherville Road right now, there's no sidewalks out on Route 68, so I'm not sure that the board is asking for sidewalks, but certainly consideration of a, adequate shoulder, would be part of the, could be part of the design consideration for the, the improvements to Pitcherville Road. That is one of the conditions of the permit.
All right, I had a couple questions. Just as information points, the bylaw also calls for, I think, monthly inspections. And do we want to set up a fee schedule? Or have we thought about setting up a fee schedule? By that, I mean, under the bylaws that we have in existence, applicants are required to pay for consultant fees and attorney's fees and everything else, and this would fall under that schedule. So the inspections that need to be done by the town need to be financed, I guess.
I recall some discussion about inspections in the draft permit. I don't, I presume that it would be handled like the bond, surety or bond discussion, which it requires that a bond or surety be in place, that be to a form and amount, prepared by, I think it says by town council and or the planning board, before any extraction occurs. And then it goes on in the permit to say that it will be done within 90 days of issuance of the permit. And So these are things that, you know, after the permit is issued, the applicant could go, you know, start talking to potential buyers, operators, and then that could be part of the discussion, you know, when that operator came in to, you know, be approved by the board. And it's, or just have a discussion after the permit is in place. The applicant knows they at least have that permit in place. The condition is that these things need to be worked out to this mutually satisfaction, not only to the applicant, but also to the town council and the board, that, you know, as a condition of approval before any extraction can occur.
Okay. No,
And
I just wanted to discuss it with you, so
Yep.
it doesn't sound
Right,
like
that's
it's
appropriate.
an extraneous request.
No.
And what we would plan to do would be request for Bill a fee schedule for scheduled inspections, and pretty much included into the conditions if we so do that.
That's
And that would go along, of course, with the same same thing as the performance bond. You know, would work on that as well.
Right.
Anybody else, any questions?
I got a few.
Go.
How do you plan on controlling the number of trucks coming in and out? And how are you gonna control how many trucks per hour or per day or anything like that? What sort of a plan would you have to put in
Yep.
place?
I think that what the town could require is, and, you know, I believe the permit requires reports to be submitted to the town on a regular basis, and it could be, numbers indicated in those reports as to what the, you know, the daily count of trucks were.
But mechanically, why? Are you gonna hire someone to have someone there and have a sign-in sheet and sign-out sheet that we can check? I mean-
I can't speak for the future, for the operator,
Well,
but
then
I'm
how
sure
can we
it's-
approve something if we don't know who the operator will be?
That could be discussed with the operator
Okay.
when it's transferred, when the permit's transferred.
Okay, I get you, okay. So that's not part of the permit, but if,
It would be, it could certainly be an appropriate condition of approval.
all right. I'd just like to read something in the record here. And April 27th, 1987, is the Board of Selectmen minutes. The safety of that road has been a concern for at least since 1987. And this is what was written in the.
Excuse me, Tom, would you say it again? What is it?
This is a meeting minutes from the Select Board's meeting of April 27th, 1987. Okay, by Richard Lyon and Barbara Hubbard. Okay, and this is a signed copy of their, that day. And it says residents of Pitcherville Road were present with a petition signed by 37 residents. The residents have appeared before the board on past occasions. They continue to remain concerned with the gravel operation on their road. They stated that the trucks drop gravel, mud on the road and speed up and down the road. The trucks also cross an old bridge en route to Templeton, which the residents feel cannot withstand the weight. And I understand this is just a left turn anyways. The residents also stated that road is no longer safe for small children, and additional concern is the hours of operation. Trucks begin hauling before 7 a.m. I think I'm very, very concerned about the safety of the kids walking up and down the road. And it concerns me that you really haven't given any consideration to that.
I respectfully disagree. It was discussed at length, almost, 2 months ago.
Well, Deb from, Pitcherville, 28 Pitcherville Road. I mean, it
You
was
have to
discussed-
really speak up.
I mean, there are children walking up and down that road, but there are also a lot of people now that are walking up and down that road for exercise, and a lot more people walking up and down that road, walking their dogs on a daily basis. And it gets dangerous now, even without the truck traffic. So I can't imagine what it's gonna be like with gravel trucks going up and down.
The other thing is this gravel operation, how many trucks a day did you say you were gonna have? 50?
Up to 50.
This is a significant increase of the number of trucks you said from the 2012 permit. On the
That was, 40 trucks.
30 to 40. I get the permit here. Well, this was in your proposal, not the actual permit. It's 30 to 40 vehicle trips per day. And they're only gonna be carrying 10 cubic yards per truck, is that about right?
No, that information was modified, I believe, at the May 3rd hearing, and, where we talked about trucks, dump trailers potentially.
So this new application is a significant increase.
From the 2012 permit?
Right.
I guess it depends on how you define significant.
Yeah, I
It's
guess
about
so.
maybe a 20% increase.
But isn't it true, did
Good.
it say 10 tons?
It says 10 cubic yards per
Cubic
vehicle.
yard. What was the cubic yardage in the trucks you proposed? Because you proposed bigger trucks and less up.
The original application was 30 to 40 trucks, 10 cubic yards, because that was the same application that was presented in 2012. It was since modified in May 3rd to, and frankly, a lot of time has gone by in this public hearing process, so I
Oh.
don't blame you for it getting
yeah.
cloudy.
I'm not blaming you, I'm just asking,
But
where are we?
It's, but in May 3rd, that the number was increased to in May 3rd, you may recall, we actually went as high as 75 trucks. That was withdrawn back to 50. That was the subject of the traffic report and the truck traffic assessment. And the applicant reserves the right to use to dump trailers,
You know, how
20
many?
to 25 yard dump trailers.
20, 25.
Yes. Which is standard operating procedure, frankly.
In the 2012 permit, you were supposed to do the reclamation of the project, and that's never been done. Why?
The 2012 permit was with a different applicant.
Actually, it wasn't. The
Yes, it
signature
was.
of the Marinellis are on this application.
Well, they, as the owner at the time.
They
you're
signed
probably
this as
correct.
the I'm sorry, but
The applicant
the
was
sign-
Hubbardston Sand.
Hubbardston earth removal permit form signed by Ann Marinelli and this lady here. They signed the permit. They were the permittee.
That's it. Signatures of property owners, Ann Marinelli and Louise
Right.
Brule. The applicant is not them.
I know, but they're still responsible. They still own the property.
The
Could I
permit
just be
was-
heard on that, sir?
Sure, go ahead.
They actually didn't own the property, they sold it. The permit, they were there at the time of the permit, but the operator owned the property. They became mortgagees. They were not present, they were not in a position to be able to control the new owner's, compliance. I mean, that was a real problem. That person is not responsible.
So you're amending what you said before, that the Marinellis have continually operated and owned this property since 1960s. That May 5th meeting when you were here, you said that it's been a continuous operation.
It's been in continuous operation. I don't think I represented that they owned the property between 2012 and 2015. That was never represented. So
I'd have to check what you wrote, but yeah.
Well, if I said that, I certainly
Okay, so you.
didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
Yeah, I understand that. I mean,
I think
we're pretty clear then that there has not been a continuous ownership of the
The same owner. That is absolutely correct.
okay. Anyway, I got a few more things with it.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
So this permit wasn't, they never reclaimed the pit. Why are they gonna, if we give you this permit, are you gonna do what you said you're gonna do?
This permit is issued, being applicant and owner is DJ Palm Nominee Trust. So they are back on board. They take this very seriously. They, as we've talked about in previous hearings, strongly want to start the reclamation process. There's enough RMI material on site right now to reclaim 2 to 4 acres to get started. They want to get going on that, and they strongly want to get a very, very reputable operator in here that is going to do the right thing for the town of Hubbardston. And frankly, as this gets pushed further down the road, then, I think we're putting that at risk, frankly.
In 1980, July 24th of 1987, you received, Weston Sand and Gravel, was that you? Weston Sand and Gravel, was that your company? Or Weston?
No.
That was never you? Okay. Never mind then. I was going through the files today, it gets pretty clear. I'm all done.
Okay.
If you're up.
Tom, you
I
had a
got
question?
Couple. I think I've mentioned a couple times that, I'm new at the game in the planning board, but I went to a planning board training session and they emphasized the importance of going and looking, you know? And we did do a site inspection for which, thank you. It was a good day. But I also asked if we could visit a site that is presently under reclamation or a gravel operation. People have talked about noise and dust and odor and those things are pretty subjective. Unless you go see something that's representative, you might not understand it. And I would just ask once again to give us a site. I'm willing to drive. I mean, ideally it would be at the beach near the Cape, but if it's up in New Hampshire or if it's Western Mass or Eastern Mass, I'm certainly willing to spend an hour driving to get to something to see, or more, to see what these things really look like. I've not been in an operating process, so that's one thing. Another thing is we've said we're not going to import material, but for the purposes of blending and then moving from the site as a manufactured material. But we are going to import the reclamation material, and I shouldn't say we, the project applicant will import it. There's numerous examples in town. In fact, there's one on your site where material somehow got in, and it's construction debris, or in another case I found in the records on another site, I won't name it, but it wasn't you, but there was everything from countertops and, you know, it was just a very strange, and they got it spread over 4 acres of land before we caught it. I'm not as strongly in favor of, let's go down and look every month and see what's going on, because it's already done. What I'd like to do is have something at the gate or even up at the truck loading place in New Hampshire that says what's coming, and preventing the inappropriate material from getting in the first place, because it's a big project for everybody. And in fact, it's more costly for you guys to have to come and remove it after it's already been placed than if we just stop it at the gate somehow, or stop it at the source somehow. So the what's in the truck question has to get answered in a manner that it's before it's dumped on the property. At least that's my thought. It would be best for everybody, best for the town, best for you guys. So if there's something that can work out that would do that,
It would be challenging to come up with some protocol at this point without knowing who the operator would be. So I would suggest, again, that respectfully that that's something that could be discussed when the board reviews and approves the operator and the transfer of the permit.
okay.
But what Tom's question was not for the operator, but rather for the reclamation and RMI.
Were you talking about a concern about?
I'm talking about material that's coming in.
From RMI.
Well, the only material that's coming in that I know of should be from RMI.
Right.
But then he transitioned into talking about the concrete debris. So,
Well, no.
Okay.
Well, the concrete debris, you've already told us you're gonna take care of.
right.
And we have a statement on that. I don't recall it exactly, but it was either process on the site or removed to an appropriate site, something like that.
Yep.
I'm not worried about that. What I'm only using it as an example of what can happen if you don't have a way of knowing what's in the truck before it gets dumped. And this material, I understand, comes from 2 sources up in New Hampshire, I'll say 2 sources outside the state. And with today's world of electronics and communications and stuff, if you know what's in that truck, it could be communicated to the site and not retested, but at least recognized or inspected in some way. That material that they put on the truck in New Hampshire is the material that showed up here at the door. And if the material they're putting on in New Hampshire, is some way out of spec, there should be a flag wave. That truck can't go. Rather than have it come down here, get dumped, somebody finds out that it's not appropriate, then you have to remove it, that's not the right way to do it. In other words, you can't inspect quality in, you've gotta build it in on the way in.
I think at the very first hearing, it was indicated that there'll be a representative of RMI would be on site every week during the reclamation process. So that person is gonna be monitoring the material that's coming in, the RMI material that's coming in, to make sure it's the right material from the right source, that it's, isn't got, some kind of debris in it or something. So I think.
How does she do that? Look at it when it's on the ground and say?
As it's being dumped and spread. I mean, you could do some kind of, I'm reluctant to call it a chain of custody because that's something different, but, you could do, I guess, something, on a slip type basis, to verify as the trucks are coming in what the source of the material is. We see that a lot in operations that are building, large disposal system projects or something that, you are getting slips in from drivers indicating that the material is coming from the approved source. So.
Well,
Does RMI have a policy? Do they have something you can send us from them on how they monitor it?
I haven't had that specific conversation with RMI, other than they've worked in town. They're a reputable company. They've been doing this a number of years. In that the RMI representative at the first hearing said that they will be on site monitoring this operation. So I don't know specifically what their protocol is.
Ann?
Well, when they did the Phelan pit, it was the same material and everything, so what did they do?
Well, unfortunately, that was a different situation that was run by the EPA, quite frankly. And that
But I mean, they did it and it was the same material.
I agree, but I don't know what they did to monitor the quality. It wasn't under our jurisdiction, it was under the feds. Bill?
So, the RMI product is approved by the 3 states that we talked about before, by Massachusetts DEP for this specific purpose. In order to get that approval, they have to go through a series of rigorous testings, and the approval is only good for, I think it's a 3-year approval, and they have to go through it again. A real simple answer is we require as a condition of approval a certification from RMI, and we put them on the spot. They must certify that the materials used in the project meet the original specifications of the project, and then they must certify that it meets DEP criteria. In addition to that then, so we don't just rely on the simple certification because mistakes happen. We can increase the bond amount for the remediation in case there's an issue, which isn't something that we would not normally, we bond the performance of the remediation, but not necessarily the material itself.
I've had that stuff put on my farm, wood ash, which is a similar product. And when they dumped the load, they always took a test. The driver would take a test, send it back, and then get a sample. And they'd send the sample to me a few days later, a week later. And my understanding was, and what they told me is they own this, and you might know this, but they own the stuff forever, because that's part of the DEP regulations. It is a chain of custody. Once they put it there, they own it.
Well,
I mean,
they're 2 separate, and I'm not an expert at this. Mark might be better at it than I am. But if they dump contaminated material on your property, and you can track it to them, they're responsible.
Right.
If they dump a contaminated material on your property and you can't track it to them, then the landowner is responsible.
Right.
In no case would the town be responsible, and of course, RMI needs to certify that this is done in accordance with the original specifications provided to the planning board, and if they change. So for example, not to contradict you, but what they did at Faline was a different supply source. They used Irving paper mill, and now they're not using Irving. So it is slightly different. The process is still the same, but the root materials are slightly different. And part of the reason in my conversation with them is the materials that they're using now, they can actually use on foodstuffs. When they were using the Irving, you can't use it for foodstuff you can't use it for crops, whereas this can be used for human consumed crops.
I'd be cautious there. I'm not sure that's true.
Oh.
That's what they represent in their
I don't believe that's what the latest state regulations say.
certification.
I don't believe it's suitable for grooming. But that's another issue. Here's what I'm trying to get at, and I'm not making my point, I'll try one more time. All the material coming in is certified.
Told ya.
Heads up.
Snowing?
What the hell was that?
Ice.
Ice?
A message from
The town
above.
doesn't have any money.
Global warming.
We walk out into the field, we inspect it every once in a while. I don't know what an inspection is, but we look at it and we look out in the field, and all this stuff was certified by somebody up in New Hampshire to be what we specified it to be. But how do you know? Are we gonna go out and take a sample? Are we gonna take a sample off the truck? Are we gonna, how do you know?
have to do it that way, yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, we can require samples. You can require as part of your permit, a frequency of sampling.
I predict something like over in Rutland where trucks are showing up and everything's going along pretty good, and then all of a sudden one day the wind blows the wrong way or something happens and everybody goes, whoa, what's that stuff? And we're gonna have to be able to pull out the samples and look at that stuff. Not what they said it was in New Hampshire, but what fell onto the ground from the back of the truck. And that's what I'm trying to get at. We have to be able to deal with inquiries and
You can-
somehow prove that the stuff is the stuff.
You can require that they grab sample from the truck before it dumps or as it dumps. And that sample be tested as opposed to before it's on the truck.
Well,
Instead of New
in
Hampshire,
addition
you can
to what-
require the sample from down here.
Well,
That's
I would
within your
expect them to
authority.
do it in New Hampshire, because they're not interested in shipping anything to town. I mean, they're not incentivized by any of that.
Right.
They're not interested in having to dig it back up. That's horrible. We don't want that. But we do want to be able to prove to our fellow citizens that what actually landed on the ground is what we said it was going to be, or they said it was going to be.
I think that's
So
right.
we'll have to work out a system of that.
Yeah, it's what's in the truck.
That's what we'll do. Okay.
Same old question.
I got another one, not the same one. I have a real issue with the traffic and the safety on the road.
Can you just speak up? 'Cause I can't
Yeah, I
hear
know. I just have a lot of issues with the traffic and the safety on the road. The safety of the people on the road is, to me, is my,
you. Well, we do too.
yeah, I'm sure, we all, no one wants anyone to get hurt.
We really do. you
Yeah,
know, I mean-
but, and I do think some of the road has to be improved. Who do you propose to pay for the improvements if they have to be done?
Bill and I actually had this discussion recently. It's, the applicant understands that that this is a condition of approval that is required before extraction occurs, in that the town has heard that there are plans to do some repaving or whatever it might be of the road, at some upcoming date, and that the applicant has agreed to, to absolutely contribute to that effort. And, and I know Bill has some feelings about this, but it's, as a resident of the town, but, this has been, there have been trucks on that road hauling gravel for 50 years. And it's as the traffic consultant indicated, that this is a road situation that should be improved now. It should have been improved probably 20 years ago. And but the reality is that there's been truck traffic on that road, same size trucks, I'm sure, for a number of years. And it's but recognizing that there'll be, and many of those trucks came from this property dating back to the sixties. And this applicant, and I'm sure their potential operator are willing to contribute to the improvement of that road. And frankly, anything associated with the widening of road would, you know, they would have to make a significant contribution to, obviously. But paving of the main part of the road, that's debatable.
I mean, I understand here you're saying it's been going since the sixties and everything, but the trucks of the 1960s and 70s and 80s are not the same trucks that we have used
I
today.
agree, I think the trucks today are a lot safer.
I think they're safer, but I think they're a hell of a lot bigger than they were back then.
I would respectfully disagree with that, but
Okay.
I thought they were at least twice as big.
No.
Tom, what we were talking about with the 10-yard trucks is a tri-axle dump truck.
It's weight per
Wh-
wheel or
which
something.
is what the applicant at the time had, or had available. Other operators that are in this business are using tri-axles as well as dump trailers, and I think Steve Boucher, when he was here a couple hearings ago, spoke well to that, actually.
Just the dump trailer is a semi, whereas the other is a single unit, the regular dump truck.
Yeah, that's one big body.
But can anybody say that dump trailers were never used on Pitcherville Road hauling gravel?
Don't think we need to. I think this application needs to stand on its merits, and looking backwards, the board enacted a local bylaw because historic precedent wasn't working. And I think that what happened in the past is instructive, but not precedent setting to this board.
The bylaw does not put a limit on the size of trucks. The width of the trucks have not changed. The width of a tri-axle is the same as the width of a truck with a dump trailer. The issue with Pitcherville Road is the width of the road. And the traffic consultant has indicated what an appropriate width of that roadway would be to make it safe for all parties.
I don't disagree with anything that you've said, except for the fact that you seem to be saying historic precedent exists, and I'm trying to tell the board that I don't think that, while that's something to consider, I don't think it's a precedent that they must rely on. I'm not saying that a 20-yard truck can't go up and down. I'm saying a 20-yard truck, when it's fully loaded, it's gonna go slower in all likelihood than a 10-wheeler. It's potentially gonna use its Jake brake. I don't think that's kinda moot, Jake brake being the engine brake, and either way, it's a noisy annoyance, and it's something that I think that we're gonna wanna condition. Just to give some guidance to the board, the town of Plymouth is enacting, they've gone through a very long process of enacting a local bylaw, and they have more gravel permits than any other town in the Commonwealth. Of course, the biggest town in the Commonwealth, a lot of sand and gravel.
Which town?
Plymouth.
Oh.
And so what they have is they have their new bylaw, which is not yet enacted, but you can read it online. Unless a traffic study is performed to address the safety and the satisfactory of the area, a maximum of 40 trucks are allowed per pit. But you've had a traffic study performed by a qualified traffic engineer. And these are the numbers that they presented. The only guidance I can give to you is the fact that they're asking for 50 doesn't mean that you're obligated to give them 50. They've given you a traffic study that says improvements must be made in order to accommodate the 50. So I think they've mostly validated their technical aspect over the number 50. But you get to weigh whether you think that's reasonable in light of the neighborhood impact on the town, safety, and all the other considerations.
But when you deal with sight lines and those kind of safety, road width, and it doesn't matter if it's one truck or 50.
I agree. I've said from the beginning, and I've said in my documents, that it's my office's opinion
That's right.
that no gravel should be removed from this site until the roadway is made safe.
Based on the traffic study.
And so one of the things that we would recommend is that the traffic engineer who performed the study certify that the improvements meet his recommendations prior to a grant of removal.
So you can approve the permit pending that.
It's a condition.
It's
So
a condition.
It's a precondition. if you would.
Precondition, okay.
Yeah. And, as Marcus said, there are some other preconditions, the bond, the establishment of inspection and a schedule, and the payment, and any other preconditions that you may want to impose, or they would, and they would accept.
Laura? I'm sorry, let me ask Laura, she had her hand up a little.
Forgive me if this was gone over last week, at last week's planning board meeting, but when I left the June planning board meeting, I was under the impression that it was all systems go for Mr. Boucher to buy the property and have, the entrance and exit be through his land. And now, it's back to up to 40 to 100 truck trips up and down my road every day, which is very different. I'm feeling a lot worse about this now than I was in the June meeting. Could you speak to that, please?
Certainly. In the June meeting, Mr. Boucher mentioned what his operation was. However, it's never been certified by the applicant that Mr. Boucher will be the operator, and he was given through the was it just last week? It was last week,
That's
wasn't
Monday.
it?
Wednesday.
Last week.
Fifth.
Given, the applicants were given the opportunity to add Mr. Boucher's name to the application and amend it to include his particular operation of manufacturing of specialty soils. And that was not agreed upon. So therefore, what we are dealing with is an extraction permit only based on what the original application applied for. And even after the June meeting, although it was a very good idea proposed, it was never part of the application or locked in.
And something else I'd like to address that Mr. Murray has certainly addressed is that the historic use of the road, the historic truck traffic, doesn't speak to the fact that times change. Historically, radium was used in clocks to make them glow in the dark. We don't do that anymore. Historically, people didn't have seatbelts in their cars or airbags. That doesn't happen anymore. Things change to make us safe. And when I moved into my neighborhood, I expected the bucolic kind of neighborhood that this setting suggested. It will be an incredibly negative change in the neighborhood to have these 40 to 100 truck trips on this road, starting at whatever time it is. And I can't speak to when that's going to be because that's going to be part of the permitting. But as somebody who spends a lot of time at my home, I am anticipating a lot more noise and a lot less of that bucolic setting that I moved into this town to experience.
Mr. Pendleton.
Yeah, I was just, I'm kinda new to this whole process, but I'm learning a lot over the months and months we've been doing this. But my understanding is that you guys are voting on just to, allow a permit, to go through. But you're not really, once you vote, it's not like all of a sudden trucks are gonna be backing up. There's a lot of steps that need to be taken before that will happen, and you guys have total control of that. But from myself, who's trying to help the lady sell the property, we can't do anything until we at least cross this step, okay? And without that, the property is really unsellable. So it'll remain as it is with all the inherent liabilities that are at the property now. And so I don't think you guys need to feel like, you're opening the gates right now. You have complete control, that's my understanding of it, to try and if we bring an operator, maybe it's Steve, maybe someone else to sit down with him and carve out a plan that works for him and for the town, and then to be able to decide whether or not that is what you wanna do. This isn't the end all, just to say, we want to move forward with it, but if we don't move forward with it, I mean, I basically have to tell the ladies, I'm sorry, I don't know if I can help you anymore, because, you know, Steve's not gonna be interested, or nor will anyone else. And, so anyways, that's just my thoughts. Is that correct, Bill, or, I mean, isn't there a lot of
Oh,
other steps?
it is correct, exactly. We understand our obligations and responsibilities and the process that we have to perform, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we seem like we have a lot of discussion about stuff that is the next phase, which we haven't even gotten there yet, because we need to get past this phase.
Mr. Chairman, I just, for the record, would like to clarify that last Wednesday, it was not on the table to add Mr. Boucher's name to the permit as well as his materials. We did consider adding, you recall that, Bill?
Yes.
What I recall was adding materials, not adding his name to the application.
And I recall you opened tonight by saying, we don't wanna add those materials, we want the application to stand as submitted.
And the chairman just said that we were given the opportunity and we declined.
Correct.
And I'm confirming that we declined to add materials to the application.
And Mr.
But I wanted,
Boucher,
for the record, wanted to indicate that that was not part of the discussion last week, was to add Mr. Boucher's name specifically to the permit.
oh, was, and in fact, when you went outside to
I
discuss
respectfully
it,
disagree.
well, okay.
We considered going outside to add materials to the list in to the permit, and to discuss whether we wanted to pursue closing the public hearing or continuing it to be able to do just that.
But the end result is the same. We're still at where we are, Mr. Boucher is not part of the application, nor
Correct.
are his materials, correct?
I just thought it was important to clarify directly.
That's fine.
Nor
Okay.
is his process.
Correct.
That's right.
Nothing.
All right, right, okay.
Good point, Tom.
Oh,
So, I guess my concern is that you've got an application, but the operator is not on the application. So if you grant the permit, then what sort of vetting would go through for the operator? I mean, would the transfer of the permit require this sort of-
Transfer of this permit would require back in front of the planning board to get the approval to transfer,
And public hearings?
yes. Yep, and we would expect a proposal, and we would expect to be able to review and substantiate and condition and whatever else, exactly. Yes, sir.
So, just to kind of clarify and to address your point, if I may. It doesn't matter who the operator is, and that's why we're going through this machination. It could be Joe Bob from Alexandria, Virginia, or it could be Mr. Boucher, it could be anybody. We are saying there is an operator, somebody, and these are the rules all operators on the face of the earth that work on this site must adhere to. So that's why we're going through the machination as though there was a operator standing here, because it's not necessarily fair to hold somebody else to a different standard without just cause. Now, if somebody comes in, and if TJ Pond Realty Trust successfully sells the property, that person is gonna inherit all the requirements of this permit, and they're gonna have to come in and notify the planning board, and if they say we acknowledge all of the permit conditions and we will operate accordingly, they don't have a choice, because that person isn't changing the process. But if the person comes in, by example, if you don't mind, Mr. Boucher, I'll use your name. If Mr. Boucher comes in and says, you know, I'll adhere to all the permits but accept, then the planning board can open the door and have a discussion and change the permit. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Counselor, or members of the board. That's why we're going through this machination and this rather rigorous process, because whoever inherits this permit, if they say, okay, I'll run with it, the planning board only has very, very limited reasons to say you can't inherit this permit, or very limited reasons to modify the permit if this person's willing to adhere to the rules established issued by a grant of this permit.
So the operator, you don't need to approve the transfer? I thought the board needed to approve.
They have
the
to be
transfer.
notified of the transfer so that they know who the responsible party is.
Well, the bonds have to be issued too.
And the bonds,
Yeah.
the surety has to be issued, and the person has to identify if they're going to deviate from the permit. And then it opens up the door for the board to review what the processes are. But if they say, they're not, they're not legalistic things. You're entitled to sell your property, and you're entitled to sell it with encumbrances and all the other kind of things. And if some operator's gonna come in, we can't discriminate. Or we, the board, pardon me, can only discriminate, if you will, bad choice of word, is if they're gonna change something and they need the permit to be modified.
Well said, thank you. And that's how we understood it as well. Well, my last question is, should we approve this permit, what is the benefit to the town?
The property gets reclamated. The tax use generated from the property continues. That has been continued by the applicant for a number of years through, they even picked up the tax bill for the previous owner operator. To keep to make sure things didn't go in arrears. And so they fully intend to continue that, hopefully get the pit to a point where it can be reclamated, can be laid out in fashion that it will be a long-term viable use that could generate even more tax dollars to the town.
Well, the tax dollar issue is one of, I believe we call it the law of diminishing returns, because every time we take 1 million yards of gravel out, if we take that much out, the values go down as a gravel pit. So we don't realize any extra real estate taxes by having an active operation there.
But tax is based on acreage. It's not based on how many yards are in that pit.
Under the gravel it is, under the assessors graveling, the way they gravel, the way they assess gravel, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, but if it never gets taken out, then the value is never realized, right? If we don't get past this first threshold, then basically the value of the land is decimated. So.
It could be.
Well, it could be for my clients,
Sure.
because that's the only way they can realize value from it.
That's right.
But
it would be reclassified as backland and then reclassified under the tax code, right?
Understood. So what we're talking about here is an enormous loss of value. If we can't get past this first threshold, I understand, I appreciate fully, and I think my clients do, why you've had to be so careful and will have to be so careful if you choose to grant a permit. And we don't have any problem with that. My clients have incurred an enormous amount of expense in all this. That's fine, they understand that, they know that you have to go through that, but if we can't get past this first threshold, so that they have a real opportunity, it's almost like a taking without just compensation, and in fact it's worse. It's eminent domain, at least you have to pay them for the land, but if you just say you can't use it anymore for that purpose for which it has value, then I think we have a due process issue.
Well, first of all, no one has said that. No one has said that.
But I'm hearing, why should we grant this at all?
That was, wait a minute, excuse me.
So
And I respect what you're saying, but I think that you have to understand that just as you represent your clients and have made a very cogent argument for that, we represent the town and its citizens, and that's a question I think is not only fair, but one that we need to consider when we deliberate on this permit. So, as though 60 years of use and extraction of gravel has already taken place, I'm not sure I'm willing to concede that there has been no value on that land and no value for the owners of that land. And continued use, which I hope is, is possible, is simply a matter of, again, as I said, what is the benefit for the town? And that's where we are with that. And that's why I asked that.
Are there any other, excuse me, are there any
Wait,
other
let Bill just fill in on that.
Sorry, I didn't see.
I'd rather put him
I'm
in.
treading on thin ground with my next statement, but I think that there is a value to the town, to the grant of this permit. And I'm speaking more as a resident of the town than I am a consultant, and I'm also speaking as your consultant. I think the grant of this permit establishes that this planning board is willing and open for business to allow gravel permits to achieve the end goal of reclamation. And I think that's an important message to send to the other gravel permits in town. And I think that this is perhaps a really good example of that, because these are people that have complied with the bylaw. They've spent an enormous amount of effort. They've hired an extremely competent engineer. They've given you, as you have said, cogent arguments. They've made a pretty good case. I think that there is no alteration of land, whether it's the development of land, the removal of gravel, that won't affect the neighbors. It will. And that has to be taken into considerations, and I don't want to diminish the safety aspects of the project. I think that by allowing this gravel permit and in some way having the applicant assure us that they will work with adjacent property owners for the reclamation of all the pits in that area is a really good start. So I've explained it to other people as the carrot and the stick. I think that there's a whole lot of carrot. The benefit to Mr. Brown's pit being reclaimed is actually the Marinelli's benefit, because they need to move even more gravel out in order to reduce the slopes. The slopes come on their land, and Mr. Brown's crazy pit then has much less slopes. They get more gravel. I see a win-win for the town with regard to all of those aspects. And
Mr. Brown's.
No, let him finish.
Yeah,
Let
but
him-
I mean, but
no,
he's
let him
saying Mr.
finish.
Brown is not included
Well,
in this.
but he
yet.
has
No.
making his point, so let him
I'm
finish.
saying, as in the broader picture, allowing this application allows those things to proceed a whole lot easier than I think other avenues available to the town. And the applicant has said on more than one occasion in public that they'd be willing to discuss. You can't force them to do that, but it's the carrot and the stick, and they get to remove even more gravel potentially if a deal is struck than you're permitting under the permit today. How can that not be a win both for us and for them? So this is my position, and I understand neighbors are affected, and we can only do the best that we can do.
Okay, so, anything else you'd like to add to that?
Are you speaking to Mark?
Yeah, because that's the question on the table.
Can I say something?
Certainly.
Well, first of all, we've been in this town for many, many years, but I just want the town to know that we are trying to do the best we can and get the right person in our property, to buy our property, that would be good for the town. And, I mean, that's when we got hooked up with Steve. I mean, there was other people that we, could turn to, but we have to leave our reputation, and we have to put the right person in there that's gonna be good and do the best for the town, and know what they're doing, so.
Well, that's why I'm asking the question, Ann, so we get this on the table and get an answer.
Yeah, and, we want all these problems to be resolved, and, we don't want this to go on and on and on, because it's gone on too long. I mean, we've been coming for about 2 years now to these meetings, I mean, way before the engineer got involved in it, and, it's time that we get going. We have to start doing something. You want it done, you want the reclamation, and we're willing to do whatever, has to be done, and, it's gonna benefit the town and the neighbors and everything, so.
Well,
And
think
that's
it's
what I
gonna
asked
be-
was, how. Have you
Yeah.
got some more to add to that?
What else?
Mark?
I think everything's been well said.
All right. Go ahead, Tom.
I have something to say. I find it goes against my, I just find it unbelievable that you're gonna be allowed to make millions and millions of dollars on this pit.
What?
You're gonna make millions of dollars on this pit.
That's what you think.
Well,
Well, wait a
you-
minute,
well,
Ty, I'm gonna stop this right now, because we have never, on this planning board, ever considered the financial benefits to either the applicant or anybody else when it comes to begin
Okay.
permits.
I'll
because
withdraw that then,
Yeah.
but.
It's just
the-
not a relevant or germane issue
Let me,
towards a permit.
let me finish though. It
That's-
wasn't the point what you're gonna make on it, but my point is, the neighbors' properties are gonna be diminished in value significantly. And I don't think it's inherently fair that these people are gonna lose value on their property and lose the way they live their lives, so you can sell this pit.
Okay, so what do you think we should do? Walk away?
I don't know, it's not my
Don't-
responsibility.
Don't you think that the neighbor's property will actually be enhanced and increased by reclamating this pit?
No,
No.
Absolutely not.
I don't think it will be. There's new evidence out there that reclamating the pits is
So,
different things.
last question, Tom?
Two questions. You said the reclamation will get done and will be continued taxes. And it was pointed out that as time goes on and extraction is made, these tax values go down unless there's significant tax rate changes or something. What, of those two things, what wouldn't be done under the existing permit? The one that requires reclamation? Cause I keep thinking that this whole thing started because we asked, where's the reclamation? What your question was pointed at, I think, was what does this permit generate for benefits to the town?
Yes.
Above and beyond the two that you mentioned, are there any others? And then I have one more question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm allowing an answer, but if I don't have an answer, then that's okay.
If you're referring to the 2012 permit, that permit's expired.
I understand that. I also think I understand.
And it was under a different applicant, and what's on the table right now is a new pit that, earth removal permit that can now do the right thing and get done on this property what was originally intended in the 2012 permit and then some.
Am I wrong or thinking improperly that the 2012 permit, even though it's expired, does push forward into future years and even to future owners the obligation to perform the requirements of that permit?
Correct, yep.
Okay. Second question. We've talked a lot about trucks, but trucks multiplied by the amount removed per truck equals the total removed. And I thought there were some limits expressed, I don't know if they were limits, some quantities expressed on what you thought the amount per year was going to be removed. And then we could do the calculation the other way, and we'd say trucks per year, which may mean, exaggerating. You may reach your annual limit in 1 month, or you may reach your annual limit in 3 months, or you may reach your annual limit in 6 months. What's the expression of that? And might we give the residents a break from, I don't know, November 1st to April 1st or something? Is there something like that, the construction season? Because you talked about seasonality once too. You talked about that this might not be a 12-month operation because of snow and construction downturns and whatnot. So long question, but by using the annual limit, does that bring about a truck limit or a traffic period limit? This is really.
You can hear that?
Yeah. Was my question clear or was it too long?
I
Not
understood.
clear?
Yeah, back calculate.
Yeah. If,
Each phase
if
has
it's
a volume.
400,000 per year, 40 tons per truck, what is that? 10,000 trucks.
Right.
And how many
So-
I don't know what the numbers are, but
Just-
there's some expression of this.
I think,
As a sidebar, you can make that a condition of your approval.
Well, I thought I remembered hearing it.
Yeah, I heard something in
they
400
usually-
yards per day, was that what it was,
I'm
Mark?
trying to reach an accommodation with the neighbors on the truck traffic thing, and still have you extract all the planned gravel that you plan to extract.
The 400 yards per day was the original 40 trucks at 10 yards a truck. That has been increased as of that was increased on the May 3rd letter, and then further decreased down to 50 trucks a day, up to, in theory, 25 yards a truck. So we're looking at up to 1,000 yards a day.
But what is the volume of your largest phase?
It's 100,000 to 120,000 yards per phase.
It's 120,000 yards divided by 1,000.
6 months.
What did the math do?
Don't do math during public hearing.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I hope you had done it, 'cause I didn't, but.
That's
but
120 days.
120 days, 6 months.
Well, if there's 50 trucks a day, if there's 25 trucks a day, it's 240
trailers
days.
a day. That's right.
Is there any sense of that, or is there any ability to concentrate the activity and then provide relief for the neighbors during holiday seasons and, you know, that kind of stuff? Now, I don't know anything about the construction business.
I think the operator that would certainly be willing to work with the neighbors. It's certainly in their interest. And, you know, although Mr. Boucher could certainly be a potential operator, and I think he certainly talked about a willingness to do that when he spoke a couple of hearings ago. And I'm sure any, you know, reputable operator is gonna want to keep his neighbors happy, be a good neighbor.
Well, I'm not making it something in the future. I was thinking of it about in this permit.
Well, we can do that.
Okay.
All right,
I got a question.
go ahead, Ken.
What benefit do the neighbors get if we grant this permit?
A reclamated, I know you feel like there's, you've already stated publicly that, you feel that the neighbor's property won't be enhanced by reclamation of this pit. I disagree. And, I know if I lived next to that pit, I would wanna see it reclamated, like as soon as possible. And that is the benefit of, to the town and to the neighbors, to get something done on that property, to make it, to stabilize it, to make it safe, to get it reclaimed. It enhances the endangered species habitat that we talked about on a couple occasions. There are a lot of good, there's a benefit to the groundwater area to get the pit reclamated. There's a benefit to get the gate controlled on a permanent basis that cannot seem to remain locked at this point, allowing people to get into the pit to illegally dump. There are a lot of reasons to get a viable operation in there that is gonna be monitored by the town and your consultants, and to get this property taken care of once and for all.
The other thing I might add is that, if I understood the traffic engineering study, if that's implemented, the road is gonna be improved
Yep.
with contributions from the operator,
Go ahead.
which
What is
would
your
not
question?
otherwise be the case. Understand the town has not been able to get around to doing it. This is a good opportunity.
It's a good point, thank you.
I have a question for this guy. Are you a real estate agent, sir?
Yes,
You are.
yeah.
If we grant the permit,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanna buy this lady's home,
Yeah.
am I going to pay, or is she going to get the same amount of money that she would if the pit was not operating?
You know, I mean, you can't say that, couldn't say that would be worth more or less, you know, but, you know, it's, in every situation, it's very difficult for everyone to be a winner, you know, and maybe in this situation, you know, it's a slight negative for them.
In the short term.
In the short term, that's the other point, if I can just pick up on that, is that this pit has been worked, it doesn't have endless amounts left. Allowing the owners to complete working the pit and reclaiming it and having ultimately residential land there, which might be the long-term goal of an operator, is a net benefit to the neighborhood and actually could increase value.
Right, just comment on that.
All right, well, we're getting into a debate, and we're here to
Oh.
take testimony right now. Let me just get Laura's out of the way.
In an earlier iteration of the hearing, Tom did a back-of-the-envelope calculation that based on the original numbers, the pit could potentially be operational for 10 years or more. So the rosy end state of a reclaimed pit doesn't happen for 10 years. And to say that as a slight inconvenience to the neighbors, I think, is not taking into consideration 10 years of a fully operational mine with all the inherent traffic through a residential neighborhood. If this pit were at the corner of Pinecrest and you were trying to run trucks like that down one of their streets, I'm sure you'd be facing a lot of opposition. Just because there isn't that huge concentration of neighbors doesn't make our opinions about our neighborhood any less valid.
And nobody has diminished them at all. Tom, last comment.
That was my question.
Okay.
I have one comment.
Go ahead.
Just one. Just to remind people that you still have to reclaim that pit, even if this is not approved. That's part of the conditions of the 2012 permit. And it's part of the general bylaw as well. So the benefit to the town of being reclaimed and the benefit of making it safe, you're already under that obligation, one way or another.
Very good. Unless we have anything else we'd like to add, I'd like to entertain a motion to close the hearing on the applicant for removal of gravel from the DJ Palm Nominee Trust earth removal.
How much time does that give us to get to?
We have 30 days to make a decision. We
Feels
can
tight.
We're
deny.
assuming that you don't want to continue the hearing? Do you want to continue it or no?
No, they've asked us to close it.
Oh, they did, oh,
Yep.
okay.
We can deny this permit, we can approve this permit as it is, or we can approve this permit with conditions. Motion?
Well, we're not deciding that. We're
No, the
deciding
motion is to close the hearing so we can make that decision.
I make a motion to close the hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor of closing the hearing this evening? Opposed? Motion carries. Want to thank everybody for coming in, all the residents, all the professionals, all the applicants. It's actually been pretty fun. It's certainly been interesting. Of course, I have a definition
We'll
of
talk
fun
about
that
that
people
offline.
don't understand, but I enjoy this kind of stuff. And
You've done a great job. I
yeah.
gotta say, you've done a wonderful job. I mean, giving us the information,
Thank you.
I gotta say, you've done a
no,
spectacular
without a
job.
doubt, we've had hearings where it's like pulling teeth, fighting with the applicant, but this has been
I
been
think that
an
shows
interesting.
their commitment to doing this right.
That's fine, yep.
Yeah, I
We,
did-
we
I-
hope so.
I've learned a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mr.
thank you very
Chairman,
much.
when might the board start deliberating, you think, on this?
I don't know, I have to call a meeting.
Okay.
We gotta
I gotta-
move quick. This is vacation time and all that stuff.
It's gonna be interesting,
Yeah, definitely.
but we'll do it, since we have no choice. That's what we get the big bucks for, right?
We should just stop.
Hmm?
We should just stop.
Yes, yes.
It's a tough,
Will you
it's
be
a
able
tough.
to let us know when that might happen?
No, we're not telling.
I'll be happy to, it'll be a public meeting, we'll be
Okay.
posting it, you'll be welcome to attend if you'd like. However, there will be no more testimony, and I will
Right.
entertain no more motions or explanations. We've done quite a thorough job, everybody's exhausted this particular subject, I think we can make a decision on what we have.
Excellent, thank you.
Alrighty, thanks again, good night,
Thank
have a
you.
good one.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
good night, thank you.
Thank you.
We'll see you a little later.
Heads up there, Bill.
Well, I thought that was interesting.
Oh, yeah. Very well. Good night, folks.
Good night.
Bill, did you say to me earlier today we had something else to discuss after the hearing?
I'm sure I did.
Some other subject?
Borrego?
Well, Borrego, and then there was another subject that I wanted, I don't know if I brought it up or not. Under the site plan regulations, it clearly states that copies of applications shall be forwarded to the Board of Health, Fire Department, Police Department, et cetera, and I don't think that the planning board has done that practice. And other towns in fact do it, and some of those are mandated reporters. By means of example, on a residential subdivision, the Board of Health, if
Good night.
the Board of Health denies, if you send a residential subdivision to the Board of Health, and they send a letter back to you denying the project,
Thank you.
you have no choice but to deny the project.
Right.
And I think you're handicapped when the police chief, the fire chief, the DPW, and any other board does not respond to you. You have to assume their response. And I think that any of our full-time personnel should be obligated through the town manager or whomever to respond to these applications. I think they should review them. And in most towns, there's a form, and it says, we have no comments, therefore no objections. We have comments, see below. We object to this for the following reasons. Because, and I think there's two ways. First off, it's codified in the regulations, it's codified in Mass General Law that these people should be doing this.
Excuse me, are we talking about Marinelli?
No.
Are we
No,
talking
this is
about solar?
just a
Or general comment?
general comment.
Okay.
Forgot where I was. It's codified in Mass General Law. Plus, I think it makes the town incredibly unfriendly to businesses. So I'll give you the example. I just did a project, and the fire chief did not comment through 6 weeks of planning board hearings. We went to pull the building permit, and the fire chief said, no, you didn't do it the way I wanted it. Change this, change that, change this, change that. Well, that costs thousands of dollars to make these changes. And it's at the very last second when the contractor's on board, everybody's ready to move forward.
That's rude.
It's unfair, but that's how our town does it. The police chief doesn't respond to the planning board, the fire chief doesn't respond to the planning board, the DPW doesn't respond to the planning board.
Health.
Sometimes because,
Concom?
yeah, none of them. Because they don't get copies of the submissions, and they don't get a cover letter that says the planning board to respectfully request your comments within 20 days. And under special permits, under Mass General Law, they have 30 days in which to respond, and their comments should affect the way that you make a decision. And I just think that the fact that this town doesn't do that is negligent.
What happened last time, we did the one at, Old Westminster Road. We sent letters to the police and fire, you actually talked to them.
But you had to physically solicit, and when I do the solar farms, I tell the applicant, you have to sit down with the fire chief, and you have to sit down with the police chief, and we have to have comments back, but it should be routine business.
Okay, so would you have access to one of those forms?
Sure.
So could we get those and we'll just make it part of the routine every time we do it?
I-
And then copy the town manager and say, please enforce this.
Yeah.
You know, because we obviously can request it from the other boards and bodies, but there's
Right.
gotta be an enforcer that will make
Right.
them respond. I'd be happy to do it, I don't think it's a bad idea at all.
It's a great idea, yeah.
Full-time paid personnel, there really, in my mind, is absolutely no reason why the
Yeah.
fire and police
It's
and
their job,
DPW.
part of their job.
It's a standard part of the job.
Now, how does that impact the one we just closed?
Nothing now,
Well,
can't reopen it now.
no, but under state, this one doesn't fall under those. This falls under the town bylaw.
Oh, that's right, the general bylaw.
Yeah. But it says so in Article 9 of the zone, or Article 9 of the zoning bylaws, copies shall be forwarded and such entities shall have 20 days. Says so under Mass General Law, under subdivisions, those kind of things.
I got one, Ben. I'm all set.
I get myself,
Oh,
sir.
okay.
That's why I'm animated, Coke.
Coca-Cola.
Just that, it just, I think.
Well, it's a
it-
good practice, absolutely. And we should
We
just
should-
do it.
We should require, we have an applicant's checklist. Why don't we make them submit directly to the fire, directly to police, and and make it part of the process that goes directly to them.
You gotta change our zoning bylaws and our subdivision regulations in order to do that.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's our responsibility to send it out
Well,
after we receive it.
Some towns, in fact, do. So on the date of submission, they have a checklist, and it must be signed off, first off, by the tax collector. And then we have that local bylaw. It was a question I asked the Marinellas when they made this application. There's a local bylaw that says if you owe taxes, this board is prohibited from issuing a permit if they owe back taxes. But you can do that. You can change your methodology. So the town of Burlington requires that you go to the departments, hand a copy, and the secretary or administrator has to sign off to receive it. The difference is that they have full-time staff.
We're full-time.
Feels like we're more than full-time.
Yeah, well,
We're
this-
overtime.
This thing, you guys work pretty hard on this.
Not just this.
For
Just begun.
Are you gonna want me here for your deliberations?
I'll
Or
let you
gonna want me to
know.
write the
The first
permit,
one.
so.
Yeah, the first one would probably be good, but
First one would be the most important one to have in here. We'd get the most progress made.
You did an excellent job at this.
And
Thank
still,
you.
excuse me.
just as if you are gonna vote to deny, I don't know what your decision is, and I've never represented, I do. If you're gonna vote to deny, you need to bring town council in to, and they can grant you, by the way, they can grant you an extension on your decision making if you,
Who can, town council?
the applicant will
Applicant,
grant
yep.
you an extension on your timeline for decision. If,
I thought 30 days was pretty tight.
Yeah, that was one thing we probably should look at changing. Every other permit and every other decision is 65 to 90 days.
yeah,
I don't know why we have 30 days in there, but
I'm glad it's over. We can just make a decision now.
yeah. But the 30 days is tight, you know, sometimes it takes longer. We've had some decisions that have been
Now,
months in that.
when are we gonna have these meetings? Just in
I
the
don't know.
evenings or?
I think what we have to do is everybody give me your schedules and with a preferred time. I'll be honest, I think we can wrap it up in 2 meetings. It's not rocket science. Once we've completed the hearings, as we have, and reviewed Bill's dialogues that he's brought in, it's simply a matter of this is what we want to do. And, you know, we can do just about anything in terms of approving with conditions. So that, you know, we've gotten great input from the neighborhood, we've got great input from the applicant, from Bill. Questions here have been amazingly accurate and important. I think we just have to sit down and get it done,
I think we could do it in one meeting.
maybe.
I mean, we had a lot of good questions. Every frickin' question I had, you guys you asked for me.
I mean, I think you get it done I think one meeting you can get it done to the point of deciding whether you wanna go, which way you wanna go. And the next meeting would be developing
The conditions.
the conditions, or the denial, which
or
one.
the deny, right?
Yeah, so you have one next, maybe we should all think about that for when Vin gets where we wanna be.
So you were the only person I sent, no, that's right, I sent you, the conditions of denial,
Yeah,
because I didn't send it to the secretary, I didn't send it
Proposed
to the board.
conditions of denial?
Conceptual, yeah,
Yep.
right. And
I didn't forward it because I didn't think you didn't want me to, yeah.
you asked me, so I give it to you.
Yeah, I thank you.
And I'm not trying to influence the board in any way, but as you saw in my conditions, many of these things can be addressed by the applicant. And in a denial, if they can address your denial conditions, you have no choice but to approve it. They don't even have to go to court. They say, we got this fixed, this is fixed, and everybody agrees that they've done it in accordance. So if you choose, and I've said this before, if you choose to go denial, there are more things that need to be even to this list, and that's what town council's gonna do. He's gonna make it the harder, if you choose to deny, we wanna make it, as hard as possible to appeal, and I heard council tonight.
Yeah, he was pretty loud about that.
Yeah, I don't buy that, but that's okay.
What did he say?
He said you're depriving the landowners of the right
Oh, that,
to
that
exercise the
statement.
value of their property, and I don't agree that they have other options to value their property. They grow pot there for all they care. But that's neither.
Not till we get that bylaw.
There
That
you go.
bylaw's coming up next.
Hey, I'm doing a grow house. It's kind of interesting.
Where?
The other point that my business partner, who was the chair of the Chelmsford Planning Board for 22 years, or a member of the board for 22 years as well, is if it goes to appeal, the judge is not restricted to the testimony provided to you. They can take anything on the face of the earth that they want to throw at the judge to convince the judge. So it's not just restricted to that which they gave to you. If they have additional information, or for by means of example, Tom, they could say, well, here are 17 of these are on my sites and they're looking great. They can introduce that as evidence in front of the judge.
In an appeal to the conditions or appeal to the
It would be an
denial?
appeal of the permit.
So if we
To a
deny it,
denial.
if we deny it,
denial.
they can, but if we give them conditions, can they still deny, can they still appeal those
They
conditions?
can appeal the conditions. What we do when we work for planning boards and you're in a tough situation is you approve it to death. So
You
make
mean you condition it to that?
you condition it to death.
Oh,
You make the conditions so burdensome.
No, wait a minute. It can be done that way. You're not recommending that.
No.
Okay,
I'm
I
just saying.
wanna-
Yeah.
Since we wanna make sure everything is
I
clear.
don't think we're on TV.
Yeah,
Well,
well-
we're being recorded anyway, but,
There
I
you
mean, I think it's a,
Yes,
it's a
correct.
hypothetical
Well, we're in a
situation that
public
we are
meeting.
discussing.
Yes, that's correct.
Right.
Yes, you have the option. That's one way of, it may or may not end up in an appeal. My read on this is if they get a permit, they're gonna run with it. And the buyer's gonna be obligated and the buyer's gonna come back to you
Right.
the next operator.
They wanna get a baseline that they can sell. This is what we have, this is what we're approved of, and this is what the value of the property is. That's really where they wanna be. And
Absolutely.
I fully understand that, and I fully sympathize with them, but I also look at the neighbors and I fully understand them, and I fully understand that. It's
That's
a
why
kinda-
you're on that side of the
Yeah,
table and
so I
I'm
mean-
over here.
I understand both sides of this thing, but
You're a very sympathetic man, you know that?
I feel bad for the
You are.
neighbors. I
No,
do.
I
But
do too.
I do too.
But I do feel bad
But
for the Mariners.
we're not supposed to be deliberating it, are we?
We're not deliberating anything.
We're not
Well,
deliberating,
okay.
we're just talking about it.
I'm
But I-
commenting on his qualities.
But I just think it.
The hair.
The
The
hair.
hair.
But I just,
We're
it's,
talking in generalities.
if we vote to approve,
I think this approaches deliberation when you
Yeah.
talk about
Well,
it.
okay,
We need to talk about the general process.
okay.
You know, what judges do, what lawyers do.
Well,
what-
that's what I'm trying to tell you is your options are, Vince already said it, approve, disapprove, but approving with conditions you have other options to approve it in such a burdensome way that it makes it hard.
Right, that was my question, it wasn't a, if we approve or not approve type of thing, if we approved it, disapproved it, I mean, if we approved it with conditions and the conditions were unacceptable to these people and they appealed them, would the judge look at that? I mean, obviously you can't answer that question, but I mean, wouldn't it look like, well, we've approved this thing anyways, we're just gonna change the conditions? Whereas if we say we're gonna disapprove it, the town definitely doesn't want it. I mean, there's a clear, maybe it's semantics, but there's a clear distinction between approving and disapproving. You know, it's like the basic premises, yeah, we want this, or the basic premises, we don't want that.
I'm not an attorney,
I
but
know.
in our experience, an appeal opens the door
Hi.
fully.
Where's the police department and fire department?
So if you disapprove, the judge gets to consider
Fire on that-
anything
down that
he
side.
wants to consider. If you approve it to death and my bad wording, the judge still gets to consider it in any manner that he chooses. However, it's also been my experience that when rephrase the approval, when you've burdensomely approved it, it's usually remanded back.
What's that mean, remanded back?
The judge sends it back to you and says, fix it.
Yeah, but it's already approved now. See, that was my question. It's already, it's basically approved, but if If a judge turns it back because it's disapproved, he would say to the town, I don't care that the town of Hubbardston doesn't want this, I'm gonna make it go through. But once you say it's approved, and he says, well, these are a bit onerous, now you have to.
When it's under appeal, it's not approved. It's no different than until you're found guilty by a jury.
Okay.
So,
That's just fair enough.
once the appeal has happened, if it's happened in a timely fashion, not an attorney, it stops. The approval process stops until such time. So for example, we worked on a gravel project in Groton, and the applicant was aggrieved by the conditions. He went to the court, the judge looked at it all, and he gave explicit instructions to the planning board. Your conditions were too burdensome.
Conditions A, B, and
Yes,
F.
right. Rework them. Bring them back to me, because I'm issuing the approval, not you.
Ah. So you
Or
really give
the-
up your authority.
When it goes to court, it's.
Yeah, it's like any.
So we can't
Exactly.
negotiate conditions with these people now.
We don't
anyway.
negotiate anything.
I mean, we can't, we can't say to them, we're gonna do anything, and they can say, well, we'll accept this, you can't do that now, that
That's done,
process is
right.
over. Okay.
Yeah. For all intents and purposes, you can ask for clarification. You can ask for,
Well, say for instance, we would
Information
say, we
that's
want you
already-
to start at 3 o'clock in the morning instead of 6 o'clock in the morning. We can't say, would that be acceptable to you or not, before we write our decision, we can't do that.
as a board, you cannot.
Okay, I just didn't know, I'm asking the questions.
You got that.
Yeah, I did.
I think everybody did.
Right. That's all I got. Yes
Well,
and no.
We very much appreciate your help through all this process as well. You know, we were complimenting them, and that was deserved, but I think you also need a
Yeah,
compliment.
I think that their engineers did a pretty good job.
You did a good
As
job,
best as he
though.
could, I think.
Well, I don't think it's an extraordinary situation. I think these kind of situations exist,
Everywhere.
yeah, throughout
Yeah,
the
well, situations are gonna come up that we have not foreseen or addressed, it just is inevitable. But we really want to try and button this thing down to the best of our ability.
And so concludes another exciting evening in the chapter of the Hubbardston planning.
Well, it's only 9:07.
It's early yet.
We can go out, no, I'm not gonna say that.
We can go out and go home, is that what you're
Yeah.
gonna say?
No, my,
Who knows,
what are we
any-
doing?
Um,
Can I make a comment?
no, wait, I thought, Bill, did you have, oh, you said it about the site plan, anything else? We talked about something else today, we were gonna bring up.
Well, Borrego,
Let me see if I wrote it down.
I was just gonna comment on my ruminants comment. The state, I think, changed the regulations on what can be in this sewage sludge. And it's up to some.
this is not sewage sludge, and
Well,
that's short paper fiber.
wastewater sludge.
Right, but it's not that either. It's
They,
short
they took
paper
that off the
fiber.
table, Tom.
When did they do that?
They're not allowed to put that in a zone 2 area.
Right.
Well, I heard that, but I didn't know they,
Well, that will make that a condition, but I mean, that's the state's not gonna let them put that material in a zone 2 area.
The state doesn't have the resources to enforce any.
No, I'm just saying.
DCR
that-
might, but
Yeah.
DEP, we now have 3 DEP wetlands people where we had 8.
Hmm.
They don't have the resources to enforce any.
Did you remember?
No.
So it's
I guess
really
I guess it was the
odd.
site plan.
What did we talk
it's so
I don't
hard
know.
to remember 3
Going
hours.
about? I
fishing.
didn't take notes, I was outside on my cell phone.
He's gonna
so I
call
don't
you at
remember.
2 o'clock in the morning and say, Bill, I remembered what it was now.
Let me just finish writing this.
It wasn't the site plan stuff, but that's been a beef of mine for a while now.
I just gotta say, I'm kind of excited about this Cataisto thing. It'd be this is a real good way of doing it.
It's a really good way to do it.
Yeah, I think it'd be fantastic. Yeah.
Borrego can do it.
That's a win-win-win.
Well, it's with Borrego or anyone, really. It doesn't matter who they have, but I mean,
Right.
Well, that's what Brown's kind of proposing.
yeah, he's doing the same sort of thing. It's good use of that. Well, hopefully. He was at the Conservation Commission today, wasn't he? Brown? Or maybe that was last week.
I don't know, but how can he get a permit to put solar in his facility when he doesn't comply with the bylaws?
Who, Brown?
Brown.
What do you mean?
Well, he hasn't
His
got.
slopes are like this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
It-
well,
Well,
That's
you gotta
what
have-
we
you
talked
gotta have
about.
something.
Oh, okay.
That's what we talked about. Was the situation that exists on
Oh,
the
right.
Brown pit
And the town pit.
and the town pit, and the resolution of those situations in order for any solar installation to be approved on that.
Well, he's also got the Brown Marinelli interface.
That's their problem.
That's their problem, yeah.
That's not the town's problem.
I should actually
Well-
mention today to the board too, that I did talk to the town administrator about trying to find out where we are on the ownership of the pit and getting title stuff.
Who's claiming adverse possession? You can't do that against the town.
No,
It's
no
not
one.
adverse possession.
Who's claiming title?
We don't know.
We don't know. We're just trying to
Is
find out.
anybody claiming title?
Well, we don't
don't
know.
know.
We don't wanna find out in 6 months that someone's claiming title.
It's been stated somebody is, but we don't know.
So the town has
Well, if
sent it.
somebody's made a claim, that's public information. That's
Is-
not privileged.
Well, exactly, but I don't think they've made the claim. I think it's been
Discussed.
Inferred.
discussed. Yeah.
So-
We don't know.
The question has come up, the question has come up,
I thought the
and I
DCR
think there is no, as far as I've done searches, Jamie had done searches, I think a lot of people have done searches, and it doesn't seem to be like a clear deed to the property, and the assessors have come to that conclusion too. So Rayanne, when she was here, had turned it over to this the town council, and they, looking at their bills, there were 3 or 4 bills and hours spent on this. So I'm trying to find, I asked the new town administrator to see if you could find out where we are in the process, are we gonna do that? But I really think it's important that we have clear title to it, and even maybe get title insurance, so there is no clear claim coming down the pike for it, because there has been,
Well, we
Well,
We're
wait,
putting
let's
that-
not speculate about anything about.
no, we
it.
just
It's
don't, I just
we
think the
don't
town,
know.
I just think the town should have a clear title to the property.
Well, we all
they own.
agree, but we,
Yeah.
you know, the process, we don't even know if there's an actual bona fide claim against it.
No.
All we know is the rumor is somebody is looking into it, so.
Right.
Let's let it lie.
But
But
anyways, they're looking into
The
it.
assertion that I've made, and I will continue to make, is the town owns the pit.
Well, I agree.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I will then say good night to Mrs. Calabash and entertain a,
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you very much.
Good
Nine-
job, Vin.
At 9:10.
You know, you also deserve a compliment for the way you handled
Oh,
this permit.
keep the fan letters